everybody. Uh, as Audrey mentioned, my name is Kate. I live in the northeast Victoria area on the New South Wales border, Albury. I came from a small country town about 40 minutes away from where I currently live, called Rutherglen. It was about 2,500 people, and I was the only person in a wheelchair under the age of about 50. So everybody was treading very new territory in trying to work out where I might go in the future, as I was, as my family were, and my friends. As most kids do, once they hit that middle of high school, they start to venture out and get their first jobs. I was lucky enough to know family friends that owned a local video store. Yeah, video stores. They don't exist now, but back when I was a kid, we went into a store, we looked on the shelf, and we purchased. I was there every Saturday. I can't remember how long I did this job for, but it was a Saturday morning each week with one of the family friends that owned the business working behind the desk. The funny thing was, my chair was actually a whole lot shorter than the desk. So people literally were looking over the top of the desk to see me. But I knew everybody in the town, so it was kind of funny. Towards the end of school, everybody tries to work out what they want to do once they leave, whether it be TAFE, uni, and what workforce they want to be in. For someone with a disability, in particular a physical disability like myself, I'm wheelchair bound, permanently wheelchair bound. That becomes very tricky. And to top it off, in the local area, I didn't see anybody like myself. So I didn't know what to aspire to. I didn't know what I was going to be capable of doing. The easy thing that a lot of people immediately thought of was admin jobs, desk jobs, reception. It kind of incorporated two things that I knew I could do quite well. Talking. I've been told I can speak under wet cement, but also the computer skills. I did IT towards the end of high school, which was, again, something that a lot of people and myself thought that it would be the right way to go. It'd give me the best job prospects for the future. Unfortunately, I had to drop my favourite subject at school at the time, and that was French. So it took me a little bit of time to get over that, but also it meant that the whole way through of trying to work out what I wanted to do, I had this nagging thought in my head, and that being, do I really want to do an admin job? Or do I want that as part of a job that I do, not the whole thing? But as I went through, I did IT at, at school, and then school ended. And being in Rutherglen, there wasn't any real opportunities once I finished at the video store. 15 years ago, I moved to Albury, and I thought, fantastic, job opportunities are going to be a lot broader, being that the place was a lot bigger. I was wrong. Going into a job, when anyone's looking for a job, they put their skills on a resume, they tell who they are. I'm not ashamed of who I am as someone with a permanent physical disability who gets around in a wheelchair. Unfortunately for me, the challenge was, well, the dilemma, I should say, was, do I put the fact that I'm in a wheelchair on the resume or do I not? I have all the skills of the different volunteer roles that I had done up until that point, that being working at the RSPCA for 6 years. So I've learned team leadership roles. I've learned admin roles. I'd learned customer service. I'd learned rostering. I'd learned the different uh, foster care programs that we had to run and all the procedures and policies that needed to be followed. I also worked at Vinnie's for 3 years, which I loved as well. I got to do customer service, which I'd never done before, which was big. And that was due to the fact that the desks were actually at my height, that I could actually do the job properly. I also have a cool chair that can elevate, so I can now be at everybody's height. That's a lot of skills that I had recruited in that time locally. So I was excited. I put all of those listed on my resume. I thought, surely I'll get a job out of this. But as I said, I put the wheelchair on the resume and I was horrified and pretty disheartened by the fact that it seemed to me that there was this unspoken bias where people would say, where people would get the resume and I just wouldn't get anything back. I know this does happen these days, but when it was consistently happening to me, that thought of, am I good enough? Is the wheelchair going to stop me? Those voices really ramped up in my head and I lost a lot of confidence. However, during that time, I also got opportunities working at the Good Friday Appeal and the Olivia Newton-John Wellness Walk. The Good Friday Appeal I've been doing, next year will be my 20th year as a telephonist, and the Olivia Newton-John Walk, I work on the registration desk, and I've been doing that for 12 years. I think it'll be next year, which is a bit scary. I love both of those events. They're great. They're exhausting, but they are fulfilling. Once again, though, they're voluntary, which I have no issue with volunteer work at all. I do love it. I see work as contributing to society in whichever way possible. However, in today's world, there needs to be a bit of an income as well. I had struggled to find that. And up until 2022, I really struggled to find it. And I just did not find that consistent income. I was lucky that my parents were both teachers, so they got a foot in the door to some of the local primary schools. And I was able to be a literacy assistant for kids that needed that little bit of extra boost. And I was able to kind of get in the door as potentially their daughter, but walk out the door as somebody that people realised could actually do the job and enjoyed the challenge. There were times where I'd be in those environments and some of the staff would be saying, oh, no, we can do that for you. And I'd be sitting there thinking, but that's my job. This is what I'm trained to do. I can do this. So there was a lot of advocating. As a lot of people with disabilities, we advocate every day of our life to get what we need, to get what we want. But in the workplace, sometimes that can be exacerbated a whole lot more because we are still butting our heads up against a brick wall of attitudes and infrastructure that is just not built for us, and people don't understand. So I guess what I want to say to anybody out there who are employers or businesses that you may know is you don't know what you don't know. Do not be afraid to ask questions because sometimes we don't know the answers fully either. You may not know the answer, but let's come together to try and create that inclusive environment that in 2025, let's face it, we need. I hear it constantly. We're living in an inclusive world. No, we're not. We're living in a world where that word is popular, but I don't see it as being action. especially in the workforce. There's still that division, and I'm not sure whether it's because people don't want to or they don't know how. That makes it a little bit tricky because I don't want to blame anybody, but at the same time, we need to know how to work together to achieve a common goal. Fast forward a few years, 2022 changed everything for me. Never in a million years did I think that I would be doing what I'm doing today. Public speaking. That scared the living daylights out of me at school. And I thought, no. I got given an opportunity during COVID to be part of a Public Transport Victoria campaign. And this was all around creating accessible transport for people living with any form of disability. This was enough for me to 100% get bitten by the advocacy bug. I loved it. I loved being part of a common goal and being able to envision a world where we could just get on public transport with no issue was amazing. And to be part of the work behind that was incredible. A little further into 2022, I got given my first opportunity to be part of a project. And this project involved 9 speakers who would get up or write a submission or deliver a submission for the neglect, abuse, and exploitation of people with disabilities Royal Commission. At the beginning, I was 100% just going to write the submission and deliver it to the organisers. I was convinced that's all I could manage, but I was inspired. So I ended up getting up and doing the speech. The feedback I got was incredible. The feedback I got to hear from the other speakers was incredible. And I learned so much about my own disability, but about so many others, which is something that for someone that for many years didn't think that they or didn't really identify as someone having a disability was quite inspiring and quite eye-opening, I guess is a better word. This change I've been wanting to see for ages. Representation matters. And in this day and age, to be able to see ourselves in a positive light is something that really, really grabs me. And I want to move forward with that. After doing this Telling Stories for Change event, I was then asked to be part of what was then called Safer Me, Safer Girls, Safer Women. Now it's Safer Me, Safer You. This is an advisory group and of people with disabilities that have created quite a few different resources. And we've also done big conference meetings over the last 3 or 4 years. We have one coming up next year as well. This has been really good, and it's been something that I've been able to create an even wider network, both socially as well as professionally, and draw upon those experiences and gain so much more confidence in what is actually possible for me. Currently, I am also working with the Physical Disability Council of New South Wales. And that's a very new position for me on their board. And it's virtual. It's a virtual role that may have some aspects where it might be in person. I love these roles. Don't get me wrong. They are fantastic. They are inspiring. They are what keeps me motivated. However, I have that nagging thought in the back of my head where I think it's virtual. We need to somehow work it so that we can have the same opportunities, or for anybody coming up in the future to have, if they want to have a workforce, a workplace that they go to every day in person, they should have that right. But things need to change. Attitudes need to change. Infrastructure needs to change. It's not just us doing the work as people living with that disability. It's us being given the chance to have a voice in the decision making roles. But it's also us being able to be our authentic selves as well. As I said, the journey has been up, down, topsy turvy. Certainly, I haven't ended up where I thought I would end up. But I wouldn't change a thing because I've learned so much. And I've had an incredible team around me, family, friends, support workers, etc., that have encouraged me the whole way and continue to do so. So I guess I want to leave you with this. If we're serious about inclusion and accessible workforces, as I said, things need to change. The time of saying, I don't know how, what can I do, or it's too hard, has changed. If we don't do anything now, then I fear that 10, 20 years from now, nothing will have changed. And people with a disability will miss out on those roles that, let's face it, we're teaching people how to be inclusive by just being us. And to be seen inspires those that are coming up with disabilities after us as well. It's huge. If we want to achieve that ultimate goal, we need to come together. We need to accept each other's differences. We need to accept that sometimes we may have someone that may need ramps. They may need bigger doorways. They may need accessible bathrooms. They may need braille options, etc. They may need sensory spaces. All of these things can be done, should be done where possible. And I think more and more these days, it's not where possible. It just should be the norm. If we need it, we should get it. So I guess if you believe it too, let's work together, because I do believe in 2025 we can do this. Thank you.
All right.